Hey everybody, so now we're at the final part of the process of your commencement speech. You've written your outline, you've converted it to a script, and now it's time to make a narrated video presenting your commencement speech. So a couple things you're going to want to have open before we get started. One is the assignment sheet that we're going to kind of review briefly. One is the video evaluation form, and then the other is your script. So going back to the commencement speech assignment, the only key thing that you need to take away from this assignment at this point is that 3-minute length. And as always, you get a 30-second grace period on either end of that. So this speech needs to be 2 minutes and 30 seconds to 3 minutes and 30 seconds. We can go ahead and close that out. Let's look over your video evaluation form. This was the best place to add the one stipulation about visual aids. So if you look down here under video, you're going to see that you need at least 4 original pictures. Now let me explain what I mean by original picture. I mean you have taken it or you are in it, which means no stock photos off the internet, no Googling the Castle logo, nothing like that. If you want to feature Castle High School in your narrated video, then you need to take a picture of Castle or be in a picture where Castle's in the background. Okay, so you can be creative here, but you're going to need a minimum of 4 in your speech. Let's talk about platforms for creating your video. The one that I'm going to demo today is something called Adobe Spark. Okay, you can Google Adobe Spark, S-P-A-R-K, or go to spark.adobe.com. I don't care what you use to make your video. If you have another piece of video software or an app that you would rather use, as long as it captures your narration and it captures your pictures and it's going to show you how long your speech is. Okay, that's fine. The other key thing is you're going to have to be able to share it with me through a link of some type. So it needs to be an app that will allow you to upload to the internet or to YouTube or something like that. So let me demo Spark for you, and also notice that my script is pulled up here because I'm going to need to read from my script once I start recording the video. For me, I tend to like to have it printed out, but you can also pull it out of that particular internet browser. That way you can have it smaller if you want and line it up side by side when we get ready to record. So in Adobe Spark, you're going to want to create a free account. And I would just use your school email, or you can use your personal email. And it's going to give you some opportunities or some different options for the type of presentation you want to make. And we're going to want to do slideshow. We're going to want to do that video. And when you click on it, it's going to give you some opportunities to customize. So the first thing that you may want to do is go ahead and write down your title. So mine was Green to Gold. Now here it's going to give you a story template. I can tell you that the only real difference between these templates is that it gives you kind of like an idea in a faint piece of text of what should be next on the slide. So honestly, to save yourself from having to even look at those things, I would go to make up my own. And once it loads, what you're going to need to be thinking of is, I'm going to close out of this, you're welcome to use the tutorial. You're going to be thinking of the fact that your video is going to take place in these chunks, and each chunk can only be 30 seconds long, max. It can be shorter, but it can't be any longer than that, which means you're going to have to split your speech appropriately. The other thing that will require you to do is go ahead and line up pictures to put in all of those sections, so just something to keep in mind. You can do this first or later. You may want to choose a theme, which is going to let you pick colors and let you pick fonts as well, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and pick green because that's what my final one looks like. You're also going to be able to pick music that's backing and change the volume of it. My recommendation is pick something that makes sense. So when I did mine over my military time, I looked under, this rousing section where it's supposed to be motivational music. And you can play and actually listen to it. I think my Screencast-O-Matic has frozen me from being able to hear it. Oh, there it is. Okay, so that's the one that I ended up choosing. Okay, so I'm done picking my color and my music, but I can also change that at any time. So the very first slide is going to be your title slide. If you click on the plus sign, you're going to see that you can input video, text, photo, or an icon, and you're welcome to include video instead of a photo. your title just needs to be text, okay? Pretty simple. And you don't even need to narrate that. It's going to automatically give you 2 seconds on that. Then I can go to my next slide. I'm going to go ahead and tell you that you don't need to have any credits. So you can hide that, and then you can go ahead and add a new slide here. Okay, it's going to make you have the outro at the end just to kind of advertise Adobe Spark, but I don't want the credits. So now I need to figure out how I'm going to organize my actual speech. So if you look at mine, what I did is when I timed myself, I realized that this would take me about 1 slide to do. It would be about 30 seconds. I also figured out pretty quickly I'd have to rush it. So in my final video, I split this into 4 different slides. And I tried to be thematic in terms of the pictures I chose. So my first slide talks about my freshman year in ROTC. So I wanted to add a photo. Now I've got a couple options. I can connect to Google Drive if your photos are on Google Drive, or if you're on a desktop computer, you can upload a photo. I don't know how this looks on your phone, but I'm sure that Adobe Spark makes it pretty simple for you to do that. So it is going to ask you to connect to your Google account, which I will. And then it's going to go back to Adobe Spark, and then I'll have to basically go back through that process and just click that I want to add a photo. So I'll end up clicking to connect to Google Drive. And yes, my old laptop is a little bit slow. So going back to that slide, I'm going to go back and click photo. I'm going to go to my Google Drive, which I should already be connected to. And then I'm going to go to wherever I have saved my pictures. So, as an example, this is not actually my freshman year. This is when I commissioned. So this is when I took my oath. I would actually be putting this later in the speech, but just to show you the functionality of how to add a photo, I'm going to use this one. Now I've got a couple options here once it loads. A couple options for formatting of the slide. I can either go full screen, I can go split screen to where I have text out to the side, I can go full screen with a caption, or I can do title and text. Obviously I'm not going to want a title, and I can tell you that if you have a picture that's oriented portrait, you're probably going to want to go split screen because it's going to capture the majority of the picture. The other thing it gives you the opportunity to do is to caption it. So I can do that here. And then once I've typed in that text, I can kind of drag it and put it someplace logical, like centering it. Okay? So now I've built a slide. The next thing to do is to record it. So in order to show you all of this on the screen, I'm going to have to line these up side by side. So let me go to the actual narration that I would be using for this one. What you do when you narrate is you put your cursor over the microphone and you push and hold. It's going to time you. It's also going to warn you that you're getting close to the 30-second mark. And you can record over this over and over again if you mess up. Okay, so let's do my first one. A year ago we were seniors. I remember receiving my branch insignia thinking, well, I guess my third choice won't be that bad. What I never thought was that 2 days ago... Oh, come on. Sorry, I messed that up. Let me try this again. Okay, do you see how it's starting to time me? Okay, so I would be talking and narrating, and again, it's only going to allow you to have 30 seconds. So as I babble here, it's going to warn me to keep it short. And then once we get further into the 20s, that box is going to go red, and it's really going to get your attention and tell you to wrap it up. Now the nice thing is, it doesn't really matter how many times it takes you to get this right, okay? And then you release the mouse click on the microphone, and then you can play and hear it. Okay, do you see how it's starting to time me? Okay, so I would be talking and narrating. Okay, because you don't need to hear my voice any more than absolutely necessary. So there it is. What I found was the most challenging part was trying to make sure that I could get all of my little chunks in under 30 seconds. And I did have to go back and fix that several times or add slides. Okay? Because of that, the organization of your speech may require you to have more than 4 pictures. I think that's totally okay. The other key requirement in that video eval was that your pictures accurately represent the narration. Okay, and what I mean by that is if you're spending a chunk of your speech talking about extracurricular activities, for example, sports and clubs and stuff like that, it would make sense that your picture involve sports and clubs and stuff like that. It probably shouldn't be a picture of you and your dog. Okay, so once you're all finished here, you actually can preview the whole thing, and that is where you're going to see your whole time. Okay, and it does the transitions for you. Okay, do you see how it's starting to time me? Okay, so I would be talking. Okay, and at that point, once you're satisfied with what you have, you can share by publishing it. You can share by inviting people to view it. You can also download it. Okay, doesn't matter to me what you do. Does that make sense, guys? Hopefully it does. If you have any questions, just let me know, and you've got my phone number.